Do you constantly feel responsible for keeping peace? Let's talk about how hypervigilance actually develops. Hypervigilance usually develops in environments where there's unpredictable caretaker um, unpredictability, as well as a lot of criticism, a lot of blaming, blame shifting, and things like that. A lot of emotional volatility, and that becomes a survival mechanism. If you are hyper vigilant, then you can be aware. You think that it offers safety so that you will be able to head it off at the pass or to prevent the things that hurt you and harm you, such as unpredictability, criticism, emotional volatility. And that becomes your survival mechanism that you use to survive the things that you've gone through and hopefully not experience those again. However, coping mechanisms are just that, coping mechanisms. There's no guarantee that they will 100% work, and that can cause a lot of frustration, that can cause a lot of upset and trauma in trying to stay ahead of the game, so to speak. And if you end up having the fixer role, maybe you were the person that was able to keep people calm by trying to soothe them, anticipating problems that they may have, or caretaking. Potentially, if you did this as a child, you were essentially parentified, which can be extremely difficult and almost feel like you've lost some of your childhood, as well as emotional overfunctioning for things that are beyond your understanding at that time, at the age that you were. And so you're used to overfunctioning and overdoing because that's what kept people happy. And you want to be safe and you want to be grounded and you want to protect yourself. Ultimately, there is a hidden resentment in that that can lead to burnout because you're doing so much more than your essentially job title or than should be expected of you. And then there's a lot of overwhelm, as well as almost feeling like you're emotionally invisible, where people don't fully understand what you're going through and don't fully understand the weight that you're carrying. And so ultimately, too, leading to a potential loss of identity, not knowing how you fit into certain systems and how certain systems actually work because you feel like you're doing so much more, but don't fully grasp all that you're doing. And it can feel like a rat race, essentially. And ultimately, you may feel that boundaries are unsafe. And that's why you suffer a lot from guilt, constantly feeling guilty for things you didn't do, things you did do, things that you didn't end up being able to actually help with because you felt like you failed your caretakers when in fact they may have actually failed you, right? Fear of rejection, and that's always there. The fear that you're not doing enough, that people aren't going to be satisfied, people aren't going to be happy with you, that you're disappointing others, that you're not pleasing them the way that you should be, such as doing more for them and being there for them at their every need. Because you know what? You have a life too. You need to also think about what you want to do for yourself, right? And to do self care and engage in self care so the burnout doesn't become so heavy. As well as fear of conflict. A lot of us have fear of conflict. We essentially grew up with that because we learned from our caregivers that conflict wasn't safe. And also nervous system conditioning. You know, your nervous system kind of knows when you are in the fight or flight. There's actually 4 stages of that: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. For instance, one of the things that I tend to struggle with is when people are asking me intense questions and continuing to pepper me with questions, I tend to freeze. And when I've had pretty stressful situations, currently kind of in one, I tend to forget everything. I lose my keys, I lose my phone, I lose my wallet, I lose everything. Just because it's like my brain is moving faster than I can catch up with. And I'm realizing that I'm a fast processor, but also it's almost like my brain doesn't fully register where I put it because my brain's moving so fast. Some of you may have actually dealt with that, and it's extremely disconcerting because I lost my phone for like 2 months almost, but my husband got me a new phone, and yeah, that was fun. And then I lost my wallet as well, the same amount of time there. And so that was extremely frustrating as well. And the more pressure I put on myself, the more that I stress out, and it's like my brain like deletes everything. So if you've been there, you know it's not a fun thing to do. And also, don't be afraid for healing, right? Healing looks like self-regulation. It looks like being able to regulate yourself and not be emotionally enmeshed. Healing actually looks like self-regulation, where you're able to regulate yourself and not worry about whether or not you're upsetting someone, whether or not they're going to be angry with you. And you need to have the emotional separation rather than the enmeshment, because enmeshment keeps you almost trauma bonded or tied to someone else's every whim, every emotion that they have that's negative. You take that on and you almost panic, and it feels like you are tied to them, right? Which you don't want to be tied to anyone, likely, because their emotions are not yours. You are separate beings, and you need to kind of separate from them, essentially. And also practice grounded compassion. A lot of us grew up thinking that we wanted to save everyone, whether that's wounded birds, whether that's friends, whether that's parents, whatever that looks like. We have to have grounded compassion. We cannot save everyone unless they want to be saved. We can help them, we can guide them, but we can't want it more than they do, right? We cannot want it more than they do. And also, you need to set boundaries without panicking, because your boundaries are what keep you safe. Everyone needs boundaries to be able to protect themselves and to keep themselves safe. So you can love people deeply without carrying emotional responsibility for their entire inner world. That is not your responsibility. Unfortunately, they have to take the lead here and decide what they want to do and what life they want to live. If they want to heal and they want to move forward, then they need to do that. You can't force someone to heal until they're ready. So thank you for tuning in to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. My name is Buffy, and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. If you got value from this, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.